cut that off before uh, Facebook blocks me. Um, hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to, I guess, another Facebook Live. I did one last week. I was actually happy about it. I think it turned out pretty good. Got a lot of responses, a lot of views. Thank you. I appreciate it. So I decided to do another one. Since the Facebook world, my Facebook family was so nice last week. So let's see how nice you are this week. So today, I guess how I'm feeling, because I'm a born Scorpio. Well, first off, let me just say I look at life from a different perspective from most people. I look at life from the nature's perspective. Nature is the beginning of all things. It is the one thing that rules. So I deal with life from the nature's perspective. So, I believe that we are more than just our name here on the earth. We have natures, and with these natures, we have to live in the world through these natures. So it's very important that you know your nature. When you know your nature, you know how to move better in the world. You'll understand how you're supposed to move in the world, and you'll be able to tap into the gifts that come with each nature. So, continue to follow me. I'll continue to do videos, do live, like I'm doing now, to explain further. But it's my ministry. It has changed my life, and so I'm basically sharing it with you. Sharing it with you. Not everybody's gonna be able to see it, and that's okay. Not everybody's ministry is for everybody. But if you can reach, 2 or 3, if you can change the life of, even just one, you've won. So I've always been a believer that we only have one life. We only have one life to live, and we got to make it count. We got to make it count for something, We got to do something constructive with our life outside of just trying to survive. I mean, some people, I guess, you live how you want to live. But as for me, I want to make sure that, before I leave this world, that I have left some type of footprint, some type of fingerprint, something. Because you only get one life. So, I guess we'll acknowledge some people. Pierre Scott, how are you? Mark Williams, how are you? Bring them on video. Okay, so Mark Williams, I think, wants to come on video. Send request. Yes, live, and you want to talk, you come on live. We can talk. We can talk about the natures. We can talk about your nature. We can help you understand yourself better. Hey, brother. Okay, so we lost. Okay, so we lost. Um, a person. I wish you know the nature of my yard further. Bobby Cardwell. How are you, sir? Thank you for watching. Bobby Dixon, how are you? Uh, Billy Wade, how are you? Lamont Whitmore, how are you? Let's see. We can this person unable to add guests. Let's see. Send that. Guys declined by video. Mark Williams. Request. Okay, well, I guess wanted to come on, but I guess they got shy. I guess that's okay. So, hmm, what do we want to talk about today? What do we want to talk about today? You know, I got my board right here so I can keep track of what I want to talk about. So I'm doing even better than that. I saw you. Oh, I appreciate that. Derek Whitehead. Hello, bro. How are you doing, man? I'm doing good. I'm doing good. It is a cold day here in the beautiful city of Cleveland, Ohio. Well, cold night. Yesterday it was like 70 degrees. It was nice. And now it's like, I don't know, maybe like 20, 30 degrees. So we're trying to fight our way out of winter. We're trying to fight our way out of winter. Terrence Owens, how are you, sir? Christopher Vontres, how are you? Joseph Grace, how are you, sir? Um, Preston, what's that? Shanks? Yeah, Preston Shanks. How are you, sir? Oh yeah, so I want to wish all the Aries, all the Aries out there. I want to wish all the Aries out there a beautiful, happy birthday. um, I'm quite sure you're gonna turn up. I'm quite sure. Quite sure. Aries, yes, Aries. They're very fun, very, very fun, fun people. Very protective. You know, Aries is a fire nature, and their role and purpose in life is to enforce. You know, they make it happen. you know, uh, if they love you, they will get out there and fight the battle for you. Um, Yeah. Now they do go from 0 to 100. They do go 0 to 100. But you you have to bring them there. You have to, make it happen. They don't just go from 0 to 100 for no reason. There was a reason why they went from 0 to 100, but they go off very quick. Joseph Grace doing well. That's good, bro. That's good to hear. Good to hear. Um, you guys pray for the world. Pray for the world. It's crazy. And the crazy part about it is none of the stuff has anything to do with us. You know, but our lives are they're gonna be disrupted. They're gonna be disrupted. So, if you guys are hearing this message out today, um, go out there, get you some solar powered generators, buy yourself some essentials, batteries, flashlights, because I think I don't know. I think we need to brace ourselves for some things that might be coming that we have, never experienced before. Luckily in my life, I've been blessed enough to have had moments where I didn't have all the amenities that you know most of us are used to, and I had to learn to live off the grid. you know, so I know how to survive. I know how to survive. Yeah, definitely for sure. But I wanted to ask a question, and I wanted to know what you guys thought about this. Should you have to fight for someone's love and attention? You know, like I get, letting the person know you're interested, and I get, making them aware of your presence. That you like them, you're interested in them. But how far should you have to go? You know, how much how much should you have to do? You know, and is the person even worth it? That's the question that you have to ask. I don't know. I want to know what you guys think about that. Should you have to fight for the love and attention of a person? And how far should you have to go? And how much work should you have to put in? I don't know. I guess some people would probably say it depends on how receptive the person is to you. But I don't know. Some people play hard to get. Some people like to play hard to get. Some people, some people actually like to be chased. You know, they like the idea that someone is chasing them. And I get it. Yeah, I could see how that could be. What's the word I'm looking for? I can see how that could be flattering. Yeah, there you go, flattering. I can see how that could be flattering, but I don't know. When you run into a person like that, it's like, are they really worth all the efforts? You know, you might be a person that is playing hard to get, and someone is making themselves interested in you, and I don't know. I don't know. Are you worth the chase? Yeah. I don't know. So let me know what you guys think about that. Let's see. I wanted to know this question. Well, I wanted to know the answer to this question. So I was born, I'd say, in the 80s. I grew up in the 80s. I'm an 80s baby. And I was raised by three women, three beautiful women, my great aunt, my grandmother, and my mother. And so being raised by women from the South, um, those old school values, religious values, they, taught me and raised me to be a gentleman. Even though I'm a man, you know, I was taught to be a gentleman. And I don't know. I find that being a gentleman doesn't really work in the community. You know, it really doesn't work. And even when it comes to women, like women don't any longer require men to be gentlemen, gentlemen's. You know, um, I don't even know if I don't even know if most people in this today's society even know what that is anymore. You know, but I guess the question is: do men and women, whether you are gay or straight, do people even appreciate gentlemanship? I don't know if that's a word, but that's what I'm going to call it. I'm going to call it gentlemanship. Being a gentleman. Even when it comes to sex. Yeah, I love sex. We all love sex. Who doesn't? But I'm still a gentleman about it. You know, I don't want to just treat you like a piece of meat. But I don't know. Like I find that I don't know, a lot of people don't value it. They don't appreciate it. In some cases, I think it might even be a turnoff. I mean, nobody's ever told me, but you can read between the lines. Just saying. I don't know. Do people even value that? So, interesting question. It depends on the person. Open communication, knowing your self worth, all comes into play. Joseph Grace. Depends on the person. Open communication, knowing self worth. Yeah, I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying. I guess that yes, that would apply to some people. But I don't know. I just find that an overwhelming majority of men and women no longer appreciate or even require gentlemanship. Treating you like a person. Actually wanting to know your name. You know, I mean, we all do hookups, but I mean, wouldn't it be nice just to get to know the person before you do the hookup? At least know their name. I don't know. And then sometimes, yeah, you might have came for sex, but you know, sometimes you might end up just enjoying the comfort of having the person, there in that moment, even though they might have, come over for other things that they were expecting. But you being a gentleman, gentlemanship wouldn't make it about sex. Let's just enjoy just the moment. But I don't know. I don't think people value that, which is sad. Which is sad. They just want to wham bam, thank you, ma'am, see you later, and never hear from you ever again. That usually works for the fire and the air natures. People that are earth and water natured, we move different. We move different. We don't move like that, But wait, Joseph Gray says toxic masculinity, the double standards. It's disgusting. Hey, this is Min KJ Conway. Um, how you doing, brother? How you doing? Min KJ Conway said, okay, I'm doing good. I'm doing good. But it's 10:40. It's 10:40. It's a Friday night. Um, I would if it was warmer, I probably would go somewhere. Try to find somewhere to go here in the beautiful city of Cleveland. Cleveland, Ohio is a beautiful city. It really is, but it has a lot of work to do when it comes to entertainment. When it has a lot of work to do when it comes to building culture. You know, that's one of the uh, I would probably say downsides to Cleveland, Ohio is it lacks culture. It lacks culture. Yeah, definitely. They have communities, but even in the communities, there's no culture. Carl, what is this? Shiros? I can't even pronounce. I can't even pronounce that. Well, how you doing, bro? How you doing, brother? I can't even pronounce that. Where are you from? Um, I am from Florida. I'm from Florida. I was born and raised in Broward County. So if anybody out there was born and raised or grew up in Broward County, hey, what's up? um, yeah, I'm a Florida boy. I'm a Florida boy. I love the weather. I love the weather, but Florida's crazy. Florida's weird. Florida is really weird, and they're really racist. They're really racist. Cops, they hunt. They don't police. They hunt. You know, and they're dicks. They're dicks. They're dicks. Cops are, yeah. The laws in Florida are crazy, and the cost of living. Oh my God, the cost of living is like ridiculous in Florida. It's beautiful out there, but is it worth it? Mm-mm. Mm-mm. My mom and my grandmother, they still live out there, but no, I wouldn't want to live in Florida. It says men is short for minister. Oh, okay. Minister KJ Conway. Okay, okay. My name is that Khalil Conway? Khalil? I hope that's correct, Khalil Conway. Okay. Minister Khalil Conway. And you are what? Um a minister, a Pentecostal, I mean Baptist, Catholic, what religion? So what else? What else? So yes, in the month of April, if you live in the beautiful city of Cleveland, Ohio, if you live in Euclid, uh, what is it, Garfield Heights, all these suburb cities in Cleveland or in Ohio, near Cleveland. But if you live in the area, especially Lakewood, I am, Baptist. Okay, it says Baptist. I'm getting ready to open up my studio. Um, it's a studio where I will be hosting my dating events. I will actually be doing a live studio audience show from the location. More details to come, but we're gonna do our first event in the month of April. I'm thinking maybe the last week of April. I'll give you guys more updates as the days go by. But yeah, getting ready to launch my business finally. I move a little slow. I had to like figure out what where I wanted to be and what I wanted to do and how I wanted to do it, and I don't know. I move a little slow, but I got it all figured out. I got it all figured out. So I guess I'll get guys more updates as the days go by. But anyways. So, Minister KJ Conway is a Baptist minister. Okay. Originally from Youngstown, Ohio. Okay, okay, okay. So you are from Ohio State. Okay, the state of Ohio. Now, so do you still live in Youngstown, Ohio? I reside in a township called Charleston Village, Ohio, known as Lorain County. Okay, that sounds far. That sounds far. How far is that from Cleveland, Ohio? Because I don't like to travel. I'm not a traveler. I'm a homebody. I love to stay home. I love to be home. That's probably one of my kryptonites. Yeah, we all have kryptonites. That's probably one of my kryptonites is I love to stay home. I don't like to leave the house. If it's not, if it's not like 5 minutes around the corner, but yeah, I'm ready to talk, bro. Let's talk, dear Whitehead. I don't know how do you send see I'm excited. Let's see. I'm exactly 45 minutes away from Cleveland, Ohio. So 45 minutes means it's probably at least what 30 to 50 miles away, something like that. Yeah, I'm a homebody. Yeah, I like to be home. I don't like to be out. I've never been that way. Even when I was in high school, I never went anywhere. I stayed home. I stayed home and I was in my room watching MTV, and yeah, that was my thing. Um, I never had a desire to go anywhere. I know you need to go places, but I go places if somebody's driving. Now, if you're driving, there's a better chance that I'll go. But if I gotta drive, yeah, it's probably not gonna happen. Probably not gonna happen. Hello, I'm extremely close to Cleveland. Yeah. If you're not 5 miles away, to me, that's far. That is super, super far. Uh, okay. Oh, he says I have a beautiful smile. I appreciate that. Thank you. It's interesting. Well, my grandmother used to tell me not to smile when I was a kid because she said my smile was too wide. I had a wide mouth, so I kind of stopped smiling when I was younger. But no, I smile now, so it's all good. Okay. So you're a retired teacher. Okay, okay. So, like, did you teach high school, elementary, and do you meet it? I mean, do you miss it? uh, you can't meet new people staying there. Preston Shank says you can't meet new people staying in the house. That is true. That is true. But I still struggle with leaving the house. You got to remember now. Um, I am a born Scorpio, which is a water nature. So the water it goes with the flow. But the foundation of who I am and my behaviors is a Earth nature. That's the Capricorn, and so Capricorns, Tauruses, and Virgos. These people can find themselves to be homebodies. They like to be home. That's their thing. Now, if you're a man and you identify yourself as one of those natures, you might have a mother that is a air or a fire nature, and you'll find yourself to feel differently from what I just described. Um, Chances are, yeah, you like to be home, but then, there are times that you're gonna want to go out, you know. As for me and my natures, and this is why, once again, this is why I teach uh about the natures, is because how, your friends move, that may not ever work for you. It may not ever work for you because that's not according to your nature. And so when you know your nature, you know how to live according to your nature. You know, even women, because women, uh, like especially when it comes to relationship between the mother and the daughter, they have the greater opportunity of being uh, in conflict, because women, and between the mother and the daughter, they don't share the same natures as the men share the same natures with their mothers. So when you know your nature, then you know how to nurture yourself better. You know how to nurture others better, and you know what behaviors to expect from uh, your friends and your families and your kids, even your boyfriends, your girlfriends, your husbands, and your wives. So that's why, in the month of April, I'm gonna be launching my studio where I'm gonna be doing events that teach about the natures of people, and it will help people look at life from a totally different perspective. Will be You can look at life from the nature's perspective, and when you look at life from the nature's perspective, you understand things so much clearly, especially when it comes to people. See, I've taught everything from toddlers through ninth grade, gifted. I was a reading coach and a writing coach, and I have taught fine arts and Spanish, and I was a resource teacher. Okay. Okay. So you've done a lot. You've done a lot, and you have contributed so much to your community. I think being a teacher is awesome. I think that's probably one of the most awesome professions, but unfortunately, you're not paid and rewarded and held in enough um, regard for your service, because I mean you're teaching the future. You're nurturing. You have to be a very nurturing person to be a teacher. So, uh, Minister Conway, I would like to know, what's your birthday? What's your birthday? So you're currently a substitute teacher teaching first grade gifted. First grade gifted. So I want to ask this: is every student in your class really gifted? I mean, do some kids just, I don't know, slip through the cracks? Like, is every kid in your class gifted? And what makes them gifted? Like, what is it about them that makes them gifted? Hmm. So, see, I didn't do it for the money. Well, yeah, I know you didn't. You definitely didn't do it for the money. you know, Teachers don't make enough money. They really don't. They really don't make enough money. Um, Especially dealing with kids today. Dealing with kids today. I can only imagine how difficult it is. I'm quite sure it's very difficult. There's a different breed. There's a different breed of children these days. What happened to your political aspirations? I still have political aspirations. I still have political aspirations, but one thing about being in politics and being a political candidate, it takes away from your own personal life. So, since I wasn't successful, and I got my own personal life, so here I am tending to my own personal life, getting my rest of my life together. But I still have political aspirations. um I don't know, it's just it's difficult when you're dealing with a community that talks a lot of shit. They talk a lot of shit. I'm just, I know people might not want to hear this, but I knocked on and I talked to over 350 people, maybe more, maybe more. And I listen to people cry. I listen to people go off. I listen, and and I was criticized for how much time I spent with, just one person. But you know, each vote counts, and each person is important to me. So if I have to stand there for 45 minutes, just to get your vote, then that's what I'm gonna do. But here's the thing: I stood there and listened. I broke bread with you. So if we walked away from each other, with favorable opinions of each other and feelings for each other, I expect you to show up at the polls. I expect you to show up at the polls, and people just didn't vote. They didn't exercise their vote. So what's the point in crying, and what's the point in being upset and being all riled up when you're not gonna show up at the polls? You know, how do you expect change? You can't expect change if you don't exercise, change. And so people didn't show up, and I I I have a life to live. I wished that I could have served my community in that regard, in that aspect. But it's okay. There's other ways. There's more things that you can do. So I also have a nonprofit. I have a nonprofit, and I'm getting ready to launch that, and I guess next month. We deal with the elderly. I think it's very important to do this because we love our mothers, we love our grandmothers. We should, hopefully, because they've done so much for us. You know, and we have to honor our ancestors and take care of them. So my nonprofit deals with the elderly. My nonprofit deals with health and wellness, deals with mental health wellness, um, deals with healthy food, healthy living, deals with anything positive, all things positive. And also I'm a 501c3. So if you guys want to ever donate to my nonprofit, it is tax deductible. Yes, I'm happy about that. Um, I think it was very important for me to make my nonprofit a 501c3 because you know, yeah, I think I believe in reciprocity. You know, you have given to me, so my nonprofit should be able to give to you in some way, some fashion. That's the point of the nonprofit. So I have that, going on. uh, do you think lying voters like Trump does? Oh, lying to voters like Trump does more effective? Um, no. Um, I don't know. I don't understand why people would ever, follow a person that would, hate, that would just be mean, and I don't know, in some cases evil to other people. Um I don't know, people's idea of leadership has definitely changed, and it has definitely shifted. It's definitely not like it used to be. Definitely not like how it used to be. Um, but I don't know. I don't know what to say. I mean, I it's crazy. So many people cried about how they wanted change, you know, and how they wanted, to do something different, and they just didn't show up. And it's interesting because I remember the day of election. I went to one of the, major polls where everybody would be, and of course, my opponent, he was there. And being a candidate, you have to adhere to certain rules. You can't be on the side of the road where the polling station is. So you have to stay on the opposite side. But, my opponent is on the side where he's not supposed to be, handing out literature and doing all kind of stuff that he's not supposed to be doing, cheating, basically, But the point I'm trying to make is people didn't follow through, you know, and you can't bring change if you don't follow through. You know, you can be as mad as you want to be, you can talk all this shit you want to talk, but it's not going to matter if you don't put forth some effort and action. So, I did the best I could do with what I had. I was an underdog, but let me tell you, when it came to yard signs, oh, I had them running. I had them scared. We put out at least 650 yard signs. I mean, me and my best friend, it was basically two of us, really, every single day. We had maybe a total of 5 people, and that's another thing. It's like, a lot of people were fake. A lot of people in the community are just they're fake, you know. Um, I had a lot of people that were secretly prejudiced against me because of my sexuality. And they didn't have to say it. I'm not stupid, it is what it is. But one thing that that was very important to me and is very important to me is I'm always going to be me. I'm always going to be me, you know, and I live my life as an open book. You know, I'm not going to hide who I am and or anything about me. I'm not ashamed of anything about myself. So you know, I know some people choose to be DL, and it's interesting because a lot of the people that they actually vote for are DL, but you know it is what it is. But I'm open. I'm open. I live my life as open book. You know, um, I'm gonna be me. I do. I like to laugh. Yeah. Do some cruel things make me laugh. Yeah. I'm a regular person. I'm a regular person, just like everybody else. We all have the same enemies. The government. Um, we're all fighting on the same team. You know, but people choose to, I don't know, listen to lies. You know, low expectations. I guess that's not my fault. So, um, what can we do to get young blacks to believe their vote count? I find so many youth don't care for voting. Okay. Well, I don't know. That was definitely something that I had to think about, when running, because had I been able to tap into the young vote, that definitely would have, um, given me more momentum. You know, I think what's probably gonna have to happen with the youth is they're gonna have to see um, the aftermath of not voting, and I think we're witnessing it right now. We're witnessing it right now. Um, because of some people didn't vote for Kamala Harris because she's a woman. Some people didn't vote for Kamala Harris because she was a black woman. Some people didn't vote for Kamala Harris because she was Indian. You know, she had Indian background. Some people didn't vote for her because she was married to a Jewish man. You know, some people didn't vote for her because she was a Libra. But for stupid reasons, stupid reasons, and they chose hate. They chose hate. They chose selfishness. You know, they chose greed, and young people, because they didn't show up, because they weren't involved. Now, a lot of them are probably going to have to be drafted into a war. Yeah, think about that. Think about that. Yeah, because you didn't go out and vote, you might have to be drafted. And that's real. And it's about to get really, really real. Real, real. Realer than we could have ever imagined. I'm good because, by the military standards, I'm too old to go to war. I wouldn't go anyways. I wouldn't go anyways. But yeah, because you didn't vote, you might have to get drafted. So I think that's what's gonna have to happen to wake young people up, because unfortunately, they're being left a real crappy future, you know, a lot of debt. And because if they exercise their voice, they could stop some of the bleeding, stop a lot of the damage from occurring, from happening. As a teacher, I feel like a teacher should take the classroom on a field trip to see what police stations actually is, and like, actually, I think that's a very good idea. Um, so I guess my question is, do you find that schools will allow you to do that, and do you actually do it? December 6th, Sagittarius. So the fact that you're a teacher, I would ask, is your mother is your mother a Capricorn, a Taurus, or a Virgo? What's her birthday? Let's see what her nature is. And by me asking what your mother birthday is, this is letting me know the foundation of who you are, the foundation of your behaviors, your foundational nature. Because we have to remember all living things have a nature. We live in a world today where young people seek a reward or benefit for their vote. Most thought Trump would give us more COVID benefits. Well, I don't know. From my understanding, those COVID benefits came from Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. Um, Trump had mentioned it. He had talked about it. He had floated the idea, but Trump would never. He would never give you any benefits. That came. I think that came from Joe Biden and Kamala Harris as far as the COVID benefits. See, when I tried fifth grade, yes, I used to take my fifth graders to the polling station all the time, and I had to fill out voters' ballots at home. So, okay, okay, I like that. I like that. I think that was definitely awesome. I w- I wish that oh, July 2nd. Hmm. July 2nd. Okay. Uh, I can't keep up with all these. Okay, Cancer. Okay. Sensitive and emotional. So you are a fire and a water natured man. So the foundation of all your behaviors come from your mother, which is the Cancer. So that means that that's you're gonna always be sensitive and emotional. You're gonna be always sympathetic and empathetic, very lovey-dovey, touchy-feely, can feel everything, sensitive to everybody else's feelings and emotions. But then, you know, you're also a Sagittarius. And your mother being a Cancer, you probably wouldn't be as quick to go off from 0 to 100 as a true Sagittarius would probably be able to. But yeah, you do have it in you. You do have it in you. And I'll probably say you being a fire and a water natured man, when you do get like really upset and like really, really there, you'll find that you'll want to fight and cry at the same time. um, oh no, or you'll scream and yell and cry at the same time. But you're definitely gonna cry. That's for sure. People that are Cancer natured, people they're water natures. Um, they can cry very easy, very easy. I dated a couple of Cancers, and like this one Cancer, his mother was a Cancer, and we'd be sitting there watching TV, watching something romantic or something with a beautiful ending or something like that, and he'd be sitting there crying. And I was like, "What's wrong? Well, what's wrong with you?" I'd be thinking I did something or something. And it'd be like the movie. So they're very good at crying. Very good at crying. Actually, all of my behaviors come from my grandfather, which no. See, if you spent a lot of time with your grandfather, you have been influenced by the natures that your grandfather lives in the world with. But men, let me just explain it to you. And I didn't know this all my life. But men have two natures. They have their born nature, and then they have their mother's nature. And science can prove this because men share the exact same mitochondria with their mothers. And if they have sisters, their sisters only have traces of their mother's mitochondria. But all boys share the same exact mitochondria as their mother. So you are an exact replica of your mother, just born under a different uh, constellation or just born with a different nature outside of your mother. So, like I've seen some cases where I had a person. They were a female. Women are different from the men, but I'm not gonna explain it right now. But she was a let's see what she was a Leo. Yeah, she was a Leo. But she was raised by a Capricorn mother, and I think the father was a Taurus, but the father was a Earth nature. So she was raised by two Earth natures, and she didn't have the behaviors of a Leo, because a Leo is free and exciting and loud and proud and out there, doing the most. But she was very reserved and very like chilled and laid back, and that's not the behaviors of a Leo. So of course, me, I started to investigate. Well, why do you not have the behaviors of a fire nature person? And come to find out who she was raised by. So a man can only have the natures of himself and his mother. Yeah, I mean, the genealogy, deals with, like who was your mother, who was your father, and all that stuff. But what I'm talking about is your natures. I deal with the natures of people. So you being a woman, women, because women are complete beings. A woman is an XX chromosome. The X is complete. A man is an XY chromosome. The Y is an incomplete X. So men live in the world through two natures. Women only live in the world through one. And so men, a lot of times, women think that a man is bipolar because one minute he's this way and then the next minute he's that way. That's because he has two natures, and he might have two conflicting natures. Some men have two conflicting natures. A conflicting nature is, let's say, um, you're a born Pisces and your mother is a Leo. You know, those natures are going to conflict. This person is going to live in the world conflicted about a lot of things. They're going to feel two different ways about one thing. Um, anyways, my grandfather's birthday we have April 1st. My grandmother's is yeah. Grandfathers and grandmothers are well, actually, I don't even want to go that far. Uh, grandmothers are a part of a man's trinity. All men have a trinity, but I don't want to get into that. That's a whole that's when we get like really advanced. But yeah, mothers and grandmothers all play a part in a man's behaviors. um how I like to describe it, it's almost like the earth. You have the sun and then you have the moon. The sun has the greater influence over the earth. The moon has the lesser influence over the earth, but it still has influence. So the mother would represent the sun, and the moon would represent your father's mother, which is your grandmother. This would be your trinity. But that's way out there. That's we're going too far out too quickly. 'Cause I gotta get men used to understanding that they are a part of their mother, whether their mother raised them, whether the mother gave them up for adoption, whether they never knew their mother in their life. Whether they loved her, whether they hate her, it doesn't matter. The foundation of all men is always going to be their mother. And we also have to remember that all things have a foundation. Everything has to have a foundation in order to live in this world. The foundation is the beginning. All things that exist have a beginning, just like all things that exist will have an end. And so the beginning of all men is the mother. And I'll use this analogy. And it's not necessarily an analogy because it's actually science. When a woman is born, she's born, and a woman taught me this. When a woman is born, she's born with a million eggs. All of those eggs are alive once she's born. And all of those eggs grow up with her as she grows up. And when one of those eggs is in the right place and it's fertilized, it's activated. And then, you're born. So the beginning is mom. And that's the beginning of your behaviors. That's um, a part of your natures. And so when you know your natures and not debate it, but when you know your natures, and it's okay when you know your natures, you know how to move in the world better. And the reason why, I'll tell you this, like, so I'm an earth and a water nature person. So most people that are just earth and water nature, having no affiliation with the fire and the air, these people tend to move a little slower than other people that have the fire and the air nature in them. They move slower, you know, and that's how they're supposed to move. I had some friends, they could just like move to California and 2 weeks later they got a house and they got an apartment, they got a car, they're thriving. But I can't do that. I'm like, I can't do that because if I go and do what they just did, I'll suffer. And it wasn't until I started to understand my natures that I realized that you can't do it the way that some of your friends do it because that's not according to the way the way that they live in the world is not how you're supposed to live in the world. We all have to live according to our own natures. So like if I'm a water and an earth natured man, I can't live like a fire and an air natured man because that's not my role and purpose in life. Each nature also has a role and purpose in life. So, if you're a water nature person, if you're a Pisces, a Cancer, or a Scorpio, you're supposed to be sympathetic and empathetic towards other people. You're supposed to be sensitive and emotional. And that's okay because that's how God created the water to be. You know, you also need to be held. You need to be held. You need to be close. That's what the water does. The water's close. What does the water do? It gets close to the skin. You know, the water's held by the earth. Earth nature people, they're givers. They're strong. They give. Um, they a lot of times get overlooked because of their strength. Because when people look at them, they look like they got it all together. These are your Capricorns, your Tauruses, your Virgos. These people are earth natured people. And so, they're long term. Everything that they think about and everything that they do is long term. Even the words that they use are usually um long term words. Um They'll stay on a job for 30, 40 years. They'll be married for, you know, 20, 25, 30 years. That's what the earth does. The earth has longevity. People that are fire natured, these are your Aries, your Leo, your Sagittariuses, these are the enforcers of the world. These people, they're fun, they're vibrant, they do the most, they're fighters, they will whoop ass. you know, if you piss them off, they're very protective, very loyal, extremely loyal. But they'll tear some shit up. They'll tear some shit up. Air nature people, these people are great talkers. Everything that they say it sounds great. It sounds good. They have the gift of gab. Um, but they move, they move things. They make things, move along. They touch a lot of people, you know. Their influence can be widespread. They can be some of the most influential people, you know, uh, in our society. The Aquarius, the Gemini, and the Libras. They're great marketers. If you're one of these natures, you're probably really good at marketing. You know, love to travel. Love to travel. Like if you want a travel buddy, you get you an Aquarius, a Gemini, a Libra. They love to travel. Love to travel. Carl, okay, so September the 7th, the Virgo. Okay, Virgos. I love Virgos. I love Virgos, by the way. Yeah. Virgo is a nature, it's an earth nature. And when I started looking at my life and looking at all the people that were Virgos in my life, I realized I was like, wow, I really have a lot of Virgo energy in my life. And I don't know, Virgos, we we just love each other, It could be a stranger, a complete stranger that's a Virgo. And if we encounter each other, we'll just like, you know, instantly. And so that's another reason why I teach what I teach is because when you know when you know your nature, you'll know the people that you will connect with the best. If I, you should be able to connect with everybody, but not everybody's gonna get you. Not everybody's gonna understand you. Not everybody's gonna be able to give you like the advice that you really need. You know, so when you know the nature, when you know your natures, and when you know the natures of others, you'll know who to receive criticism. You'll know who to receive opinions from, advice from. Because a fire nature person, Aries, Leo, Sagittarius, their advice to me wouldn't work for me because what they would do and how they would do things wouldn't be according to my natures because I'm water and earth. So I can't do what they do. If I try to do what they do, I'll go to jail. While they did the same thing and they got away with it, but they did what they were supposed to do according to their nature. And that doesn't mean that I'm supposed to do what they do. So that's why it's very important to one day come to one of my seminars and learn. It really works. It really works. You have to come with an open mind. You have to come with an open heart. But I promise you, if you come, you'll definitely walk away looking at life from another perspective, a new perspective. and that's okay. I find that people are very closed minded, especially church folks. People that grew up in the church, they're extremely closed minded, and there's more knowledge. There's more understanding than just in the book that you buy into, which I'll say that for another day. I'll say that argument for another day. The reason why I retired early is because I survived a massive heart attack and 15 strokes. And currently I have been battling lupus. And for the past 8 years, I've been dealing with cancer and prostate cancer. Wow. Wow. Okay. Well, I definitely pray your strength. That's a lot. That's a lot to deal with. And we all should be very thankful and very grateful for health and wellness, for what a man would give for their health. But you know, for those people out there that are suffering with health issues and health conditions, we pray for you, and we ask that God, the universe, gives you strength and um, gives you the knowledge and understanding on how to uh, cure, cure yourself. I am a believer that God has put the cures to all our ailments here on the earth. I mean, the animals in the wild. Which is interesting because I've never known animals in the wild to ever suffer from cancer. But yet, dogs that live with people develop cancer. They develop human like diseases, but the animals in the wild don't have these ailments that domesticated animals seem to have. And so if the animals in the wild don't get sick and well, I guess they do get sick, but I've seen some animals, they go and eat grass, and it makes them feel better. It cures them. But I believe that all the cures are here on the earth. I don't believe that God put us here without a cure for anything. But guys, let me see. How long we been on live? It's been great talking to you guys. This is my second live here on Facebook. Um, I'm gonna get ready to go. I'm gonna get ready to go. But I appreciate everybody that watched, and we're gonna probably be back next Friday. I don't know what time, but I don't know. Look out for me. Look out for me. But until then, people, I love you guys. And I'll see you again soon. Peace.